Well, guys, tonight President Biden delivered his farewell address from the Oval Office. But this is sweet. Biden told the country, even though my term as president may be over, the smell of Werther's Originals and Ben Gay I've left behind will linger forever. Not sweet?
Ben Gay, can you say Ben Gay? Is that allowed? I guess when you're talking about Joe Biden, it's okay. The rules are fungible. We'll just call them fungible. Just see the CEO of the Coca-Cola Corporation visited with Donald Trump and brought him a special inauguration edition Donald Trump Diet Coke bottle, labeled up as the special for the inauguration, Donald, because he loves his Diet Coke, you know. He's got a button when he was president. He's going to have it again in a couple of days. The button on the Resolute desk, that's the desk in the Oval Office made from an old ship called the Resolute. And the button's going to be back on the desk. When he pushes the button, they bring him another Diet Coke. Another Diet Coke. So the CEO of the Coca-Cola Corporation visited Donald Trump and brought him a special edition bottle, which is pretty deluxe. I've got to say, not everybody gets that kind of treatment. Wonderful stuff. Just great. And good for Coca-Cola. That's pretty smart, I think. Not so stupid, these guys. Well, again, good Thursday and welcome back. We are at 888-630-9625. And I have to get to Joe Biden. But before I get to Joe Biden, I want to finish up on the Pam Bondi hearing yesterday, because these nutty Democrats, these rascally Democrats, you try rubbing them out. You try scrubbing them out. No, we'll get back to the rubbing them out thing later. Hang on. But Michael just passed me across the studio over the computers and under the microphones. Michael just passed me the Metro card. This is the subway system in Washington, D.C. Do you already have one? Okay, and looking at Jasmine, she's like, looking at her eyes are, huh, what? Yeah, Michael brought me, I talked about it yesterday on the radio, and Michael got me one today. You got Randy one, too. It's the Smart Trip card, which you can use to board a city bus, which my best girl and I do on occasion, and not every day, but on occasion, and also board the subway and ride the subway trains. It's not New York, so you're less likely to be set on fire here. For the most part, Democrats set themselves on fire here. How many Democrats have set themselves on fire in Washington lately? The Supreme Court guy on Earth Day and the Israeli embassy guy just not too far from this radio station. How many? A bunch of Democrats. There have been a lot of suicide attacks by Democrats. The U.S. Capitol murdered the police officer, William Evans, suicide attack. But never mind that. Let's get back to the Metro card. Democrats, they're rascally, aren't they? And it's got a picture of Donald Trump on the Metro card, your swipe card to get on the subway train and the buses. Picture of Donald Trump. It's a good picture, too. He's looking calm, cool, and collected. The big number 47 behind him, and it says the inauguration of Donald Trump, 45th and 47th President of the United States, says there right on the thing. That's pretty cool, I got to say. Thank you, Michael. You've never ever got me anything nicer than this. And is there zero money on it? It's like $1. It's about $1 on it. See, that's and you've still never gotten me anything nicer than this. That is great. Thank you very much. It's very honestly, I like it though. I'm just kidding, but it's very nice. That's a fun thing. It's a great souvenir item, I've got to say. All right, now with that said, let's get back to the nutty, rascally Democrats. They're very dishonest people. And then we're going to get to Joe Biden and his Dwight Eisenhower military-industrial complex speech. But this time he's complaining about the Democrat Party's own infrastructure as being a threat to democracy. That's not the way he's framing it, of course, but I'll straighten it out for him because he's not a very bright guy. Not a bright man. And he was sitting there on his Hemi pillows yesterday in the Oval Office. He had, were they donut? I think they were donut pillows, but I'm not sure. And we just did Adam Schiffless with Pam Bondi. and he is not a good person, not a good senator, not a good representative in the House, not a good person. He's a bad person, and I don't like him, honestly. So we got that. Now we did. Let's see. We went through number 23. Number 23. So let's get to Mazie Hirono. Mazie Hirono. She is amazingly a United States senator. Sometimes we can have too much democracy, and she's a pretty good example of that. Mazie Hirono, Democrat senator, Hawaii. And yesterday at the hearing, the confirmation hearing, and Pam Bondi was doing great. She slapped little Adam Schiff around as he deserved to be slapped around, and it was very pleasant to see. I liked it very much. She looked wonderful doing it. She sounded wonderful. She's no nonsense. She wasn't taking any guff from this little weasel named Adam Schiffless. And then the dim-witted Mazie Hazy Hirono jumped in. She was also at the Pete Hegseth show, so she's on the Armed Services Committee and the Judiciary Committee. I wonder if they just put her on there for the confirmation hearings. They do that sort of thing, and then they just throw it all out, burn it to the ground like it's a police car. So Pam Bondi, incoming U.S. Attorney General, former Florida Attorney General, State Attorney General, with the dim-witted, inarticulate Democrat who some say she very often sounds drunk, inebriated, intoxicated. It sounded like this.
If President-elect Trump asks, suggests, or hints that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived political enemies, would you do so?
Senator Hirono, I wish you had met with me. Had you met with me, we could have discussed many things and gotten to know you.
I am listening to you now. Could you respond to the question?
Yeah, you were the only one who refused to meet with me, Senator.
Yes. Well, I was going around trying to set up meetings with the various senators on the committee so we could talk and have a nice civil discussion beforehand. But you refused because, and what is it, the political enemies? If, as Attorney General, you're asked by the president to look at political enemies. Isn't that ironic? Because the Biden administration and their henchmen, their lynch mob, their gang, who did they target? Well, let's see, Steve Bannon, they put him in jail from the Trump White House, and Peter Navarro from the Trump White House, and they put him in jail. Roger Stone from the Trump White House and the Trump Circle. You remember the pre-dawn raid at his house by the FBI with rifles and helmets and a CNN camera crew that they alerted and positioned across the street. You remember when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago because they targeted President Trump himself and tried to put him in prison for hundreds of years like the third world banana boat captains that they are. Just amazing stuff. But the Washington Post today, with their headline, at confirmation hearing, Bondi evasive on prosecuting Trump adversaries. See how they're in bed writhing around with Mazie Hirono and Adam Schiffless, the inchworm. Isn't that amazing? And that doesn't even cover the list of Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro and Roger Stone and Donald Trump himself. And there was George Papadopoulos, a Naval Academy grad, and they targeted everybody. Contempt of Congress. You mean like Hunter Biden, who was in contempt of Congress for a long, long time and repeatedly defied congressional subpoenas, and no indictments for him and no jail for him because of the old double standard. Isn't that amazing? Also, they've got a headline above that of Marco Rubio at his hearing to become Secretary of State yesterday. Rubio details vision for an, quote, America first, end quote, foreign policy. And the Washington Post and the Democrats, they're against that. Our State Department shouldn't be America first. They should be pro-Hamas and Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah. Aren't they amazing? Were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all, and they have no sense of irony whatsoever. All right, let's get back to, now there's a Democrat senator named Padilla. And Senator Padilla, nobody's ever heard of him. They got these Democrat senators all over the place. that nobody's ever heard of because they're dimwits. They don't ever do anything of any value at all. But remarkable stuff. And here is Senator Padilla at the Pam Bondi hearing.
You've taken an oath to uphold the Constitution just as an attorney. And now you're asking us to consider you to serve as the chief law enforcement officer in our country. So it's imperative, Ms. Bondi, that you subscribe to facts and evidence and not politically convenient conspiracy theories. Your job will be, your job will be to protect voters and election workers.
Election workers. Is that what they are? Workers, like in the Soviet Union, the workers of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but everything that you've ever collected. When we burn your entire neighborhood to the ground and the fire trucks never show up, and if they did, there wouldn't be any water in the fire hydrants, and then we shout you down because that's Alex Padilla, the Democrat from California. So Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla, California senators, both on this committee, and both dim of wit, to be sure. Alex Padilla.
Then we'll move on to a different topic.
Senator, you were speaking. May I speak? You cut me off when I was speaking.
When I ask you the next question, you can speak, and I hope you answer, Ms. Bondi.
Well, I'd like to answer the previous one, Senator.
When we met yesterday,
you pointed your finger at me and said you were speaking. You did not seem to be familiar. Let me answer my question. I'm not going to be bullied by you, Senator
the 14th Amendment.
Call him a sexist. Call him a misogynist. Call him a racist, even though you're white, because who cares? Well, he's Alex Padilla, so he's Latino, or Latinx, as Joe Biden might say. Not only an ethnic group, also a bathroom tissue, Latinx. And since he's Latinx, according to the Democrats, and she's more Anglo-European Caucasian, he's a racist for treating her so dismissively, and a sexist and a misogynist.
Latinx.
Because the Democrats, they are truly something, aren't they? Yes, they are. All right, Michael. Now I'm gonna change topics. When we come back after the break, I'm gonna change topics to the Joe Biden, his farewell speech, and the news media treating it like it's John F. Kennedy's land a man on the moon and return him safely to the earth before the decade is out speech, or Dwight Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech, and that's just another example of our news media being so profoundly corrupt that no one should believe a word of it. Well, what was if you read the newspaper, if you don't read the newspapers, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspapers, you're misinformed. Let's go to Rachel, calling from Clark County, Virginia. Rachel, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris Plant. As always, it is such a pleasure and honor to speak with you.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. So I just find this pompous display of self-righteous morality interesting. How about that slush fund that the taxpayers pay for to settle out their claims of harassment? How about Tim Kaine, scrutiny for taking $160,000 in unclaimed gifts? How about Blumenthal, lied about being in Vietnam? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Of the hypocrisy. And Elizabeth Warren's entire career built on the lie. Going into Harvard, she took from all of these things. So they're all just, it's almost comical.
Well, it is, yeah. And Elizabeth Warren pretending to be Native American and being promoted time and again in the Harvard organization. She obviously, look at her from satellite photos. She's the whitest, most European person you've ever seen. And she's, oh, no, I'm all Native American. It turned out that Marco Rubio did a 23andMe, and, for the genetic thing, Marco Rubio is more African-American than Elizabeth Warren is Native American. That actually turned out to be the case. These people couldn't be more ridiculous.
Related to a Jeep Cherokee.
And it's maybe shown a Jeep Cherokee. Could be related to a Jeep Cherokee, is that what you said?
Yeah, so she's probably closer related to that than an actual Cherokee.
Truly amazing stuff. And you're right. And in Congress on Capitol Hill, you're right. They maintain a slush fund there that they voted in for themselves because they can do that to pay off women, hush money, to borrow a turn of phrase, hush money to pay off the women. It's always women, and the sexual harassment and sexual abuse cases that are brought against members of Congress. And you remember Joe Biden, according to Tara Reid said she was sexually assaulted by Joe Biden, forced against the wall and digitally assaulted by Joe Biden. And she's so afraid of what the United States has become that she left the United States. And where did she go, Michael? She moved to Russia. She moved where she feels safe from the Biden family after being sexually assaulted. But when you're a Democrat, nobody in the news media even remembers that. They're not aware of it. They couldn't tell you what I just told you, much less any more than that. Our media.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
I was just going to say one last thing, if I may. Mazie Hirono's comments on Pete Hegseth about the payoff. I just want to say, as a survivor, a true survivor, there's no amount of money in the world you could offer me to shut up if that truly happened to me. She cheated and she got caught, and this was her only recourse. And that's just, it's terrible.
Rachel, you're the best. Thank you very much. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Also, we're going to have a real cold inauguration day, but not as cold as Ronald Reagan's second inauguration. I'll get to that, but it's going to be Chile, as AOC might say. Chile. She thinks it's They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. Let's go back to the television. Then I'm going to get Joe Biden and his big speech last night. Let's go to Rick calling from Elmwood Park, New Jersey. Ricardo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, I was thinking since we had Latino illegal immigrants start the fires in California, maybe we should change the lyrics from "Come on, baby, light my fire" to "Come on, Pepe, light my fire."
Come on, Pepe, light my fire. And then we could break into Espanol from that point forward.
Listen, I really called to complain about Biden, and I can't wait till we get a president who doesn't blame his administration's failures on climate change. I'm so sick of hearing it.
Well, you know, they have killed God, right? And since God does not exist to them, dog is their co-pilot. As Voltaire said, if God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. So the Democrats have invented God, and you'll never guess, Rick, it's them. It's them. And it comes with a secular apocalypse, which is climate change, and they are our saviors. Only they can prevent the climate from changing. Never mind the big ball of fire in the sky or any of that stuff. It's them. They are God.
I'm making vegetarian chile.
All right, Joe Biden gave his speech yesterday, and the news media just loved it, as you might expect. Their tongues were wagging tongues. They shaved their tongues and then chased Joe Biden across the room. Oh, yeah, Joe Biden was asked a couple of questions yesterday, and he gave some pretty ridiculous answers. We got that. But the news media front page of the Washington Post today, just barely above the fold, a picture of Joe Biden at the Oval Office desk looking like he's, like there's a bomb about to hit the White House and he's praying his last prayer. Biden warns of oligarchy in a somber farewell. It's a somber farewell. Oval Office speech caps a 50-year career that saw tragedy and triumph. Yeah, he got triumph, we got tragedy. That's how that worked. And the Associated Press, with their headline, Biden warns in farewell address that an oligarchy of ultra-rich in U.S. threatens future of democracy. It's always a threat to democracy. And again, decided this morning in our pre-show meeting that anybody that comes out and tells you that somebody else is a threat to democracy is probably the actual threat to democracy himself, or herself. I don't want to be exclusionary about it. And Biden warns U.S. faces oligarchy as Trump looms over legacy out of the United Kingdom. And I love this one. This made me laugh. I read the National Panhandler Radio story on this, suckling on the taxpayer teat and gobbling up tax dollars so they can all buy gold Mercedes station wagons and multi-million-dollar houses on our money. And in the National Panhandler Radio piece, they actually compared Joe Biden's speech last night to the Dwight David Eisenhower, President Eisenhower farewell speech, where he, as the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe, World War II, five-star general, he warned of the military-industrial complex. And there's a bit of irony in there for the people at NPR that they wouldn't understand, because Joe Biden is the threat. He is the military-industrial complex boy that Dwight Eisenhower warned us about. But they don't get that. Joe Biden is funneling hundreds of billions of dollars to the military-industrial complex and then bragging, all this money we're sending to Ukraine, 90% of it's turning around and coming right back to the United States, they keep telling us. And like that's, okay, that's good. So we're just coughing up hundreds of billions of dollars for a war that nobody's negotiating a peace to, because our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who started that felonious 51 intelligence letter that lied to us about the Hunter Biden laptop. You remember that? Remarkable stuff. But in the Biden speech and NPR, they just love it. They're giving a tongue bath from afar, and they say he talked about climate change because the climate is. I thought that was an existential threat. Now it's the oligarchs, and I got to tell you, the fact is, I've been talking for years right here from this studio and this building and different studios across the hall and stuff that. For years about the information oligarchs in the United States of America. Now, who are those information oligarchs? Well, they are all servants of the Democratic Party. All of them have been historically, and until just moments ago when Elon Musk, who was a Democrat, by the way, Elon Musk bought Twitter away from Jack Dorsey when he owned Twitter. And he had to sell it for $44 billion or something like that. And now nobody knows where he is. But Joe Biden is the agent of the military-industrial complex, and he has long been the agent of the military-industrial complex. When Dwight Eisenhower, a great American and a great American president, warned us about the threat from the military-industrial complex, the realization of that threat is what we're doing with the war in Ukraine, and Joe Biden funneling hundreds of billions to the military-industrial complex for a war that we are theoretically and technically not even involved in. But Joe Biden is the military-industrial complex. He's their boy. Make no mistake. So the 82-year-old Joe Biden sitting on pillows at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office last night addressing the nation, and the fake news media and the taxpayer-funded government Democrat-run NPR actually comparing Biden and this terrible speech to Dwight Eisenhower is an embarrassment to history and to journalism. But they're fine with that because, they're NPR. Don't be silly. All right, so let me go now to Joe Biden and his big speech. And again, the Washington Post, Biden warns of oligarchy in somber farewell. Now, the oligarchs, keeping in mind, all the information oligarchs are Democrat Party operatives. That Jack Dorsey at Twitter, Elon Musk was a Democrat operative until he wasn't quite recently. Mark Zuckerberg, who, what did he put $400 million into the Democrat campaign this time? I think he put $400 million into the Democrat campaign, presidential campaign, when Joe Biden won. The reality is that the only reason Joe Biden won the presidency in the first place is because of these corrupt information oligarchs. It was the American oligarchy of the centibillionaires, that is people with $100 billion or more. It's because of the oligarchs, the information oligarchs, that I have been criticizing for many years. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk was one of them, and Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey. And let's not forget George Soros, who is one of the centibillionaire information oligarchs who has done everything he can to corrupt the United States of America with his money, and it's all Democrat Party money. Joe Rogan, the great podcaster, was a Bernie Sanders supporter, the most popular podcaster on the planet. And he is no longer a Bernie Sanders supporter, but he was. And they all supported the Democrats and Joe Biden won because. And Barack Obama won because. And on and on. So the oligarchs are the Democrat Party's oligarchs. And by the way, George Soros was just given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Joe Biden because he is one of the Democrat, billionaires row oligarchs, the information oligarchs, because they must control the flow of information. You must not hear things that are detrimental to the Democrat Party, like the New York Post reporting on Hunter Biden's laptop and Tony Bobulinski, CEO of one of the Biden family's many corporations, and we still don't know what business they're in, but with 20 some odd corporations. Now let's go to the audio. And you want to start where again? Number four. Numero cuatro, as the Democrats like to say, with their Latinx friends. Here's Joe Biden in his big farewell address, and he's got a dangerous warning, and he likes the word dangerous and warning for all of us.
I have no doubt that America's in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern.
Concern.
And this is a dangerous concentration, and that's a dangerous concentration of power.
Concern.
In the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people.
Yeah, that's never happened.
And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked.
Danger. How many times did he say danger and dangerous and warning? Warning, Will Robinson, return to the ship. The dangerous concentration of power in the hands of the ultra-wealthy. Now, again, all Democrats, until recently Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, owner of the Washington Post and Amazon, Jack Dorsey, the former owner of Twitter, George Soros, the billionaires row of Democrat sponsors, and they are and who's the founder of Google, and the list goes on. All Democrat billionaires, multi-billionaires, all Democrat donors, Democrat apparatus, and Joe Biden was using the FBI. You may remember, speaking of danger to our democracy, you filthy grand poobah. What is he? He's the exalted cyclops of the military-industrial complex, funneling hundreds of billions. Hey, how's that war in Ukraine going? Oh, it's going great. All my friends are getting rich. That's going wonderfully. Yeah, and the oligarchy. And again, these are the very words that I've been using for years: the information oligarchs and the oligarchy. And now Joe Biden's onto it, but he's lying about it. He's misrepresenting it. He's twisting it all around. Now, the problem they have is that Elon Musk has turned on the Democrat Party, like Robert F. Kennedy has turned on the Democrat Party. And now Mark Zuckerberg has not turned on the Democrat Party, but he has said, I'm not going to, do your censorship for you anymore because, well, for whatever reason, I can't explain his motivation. Joe Biden.
Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy.
Literally.
Our basic rights and freedoms.
Threatens.
And a fair shot for everyone.
Basic rights.
Get ahead.
Fair shot. Equity. Fair shot for everyone to get. Yeah, because that's what you represent, the left. The party of, the Klan and lynching and Jim Crow. Yeah, you're the fair shake for everybody, guys, aren't you? Just amazing. So the oligarchy, again, they were all Democrats forever. Joe Biden.
People should be able to make as much as they can, but
like your family.
Play by the same rules. Pay their fair share of taxes.
Hey, wait a minute. Isn't your son Hunter Biden a tax evader who evaded $1.4 million in taxes, and you pardoned him? So everybody should pay their fair share except your filthy family, your filthy, corrupt family. Couldn't be a bigger crook if he set out to be a bigger crook. Joe Biden.
So much is at stake. Right now, the existential threat of climate change
Uh-oh.
has never been clearer.
Existential threat.
Just
climate
look across
change.
the country.
Just look.
From California to North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever in the history of the world.
The world, in the history of the world. And all this money is being funneled to his friends, to the Democrat Party's friends, to donors who use slave labor in China to make solar panels, and the Chinese use child slave labor in Africa to mine the elements, and they're toxic, and years from now they get terrible diseases. And Joe Biden's all in favor of that. And California to North Carolina. Now, no, you guys grooming kids instead of forests led to the forest fires, and there's no water in the reservoirs, and you blew up dams and got rid of dams and reservoirs, and there's no water coming out of the fire hydrants, and you have an LGBTQ first woman fire chief in Los Angeles, and I don't think the DEI hiring practices of the Los Angeles Fire Department working out very well, but I know you do, Joe, you ridiculous person. Joe Biden, and it's danger and warning, and I'm scaring you.
We see the same dangers of the concentration of technology, power, and wealth. You know, his farewell address, President Eisenhower spoke of the dangers of the military-industrial complex. He warned us then about, and I quote, the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power, end of quote. 6 decades later, I'm equally concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex that could pose real dangers for our country as well.
It's the tech-industrial complex. He's trying to create a new Eisenhower military-industrial complex speech. Eisenhower was one of the most legitimate presidents in the history of the world. Joe Biden is one of the least legitimate presidents in the history of the world. And the only reason he's there is because of the tech oligarchs, because of the tech billionaires. Literally, without them, there is no chance that he would have won the presidency 4 years ago. Not a chance in Snowball's chance in Gaza. Joe Biden last night in the Oval Office, the tech industrial complex, they think they're coining a new phrase that everybody's going to use from now on. Yeah, and what they're doing is they're threatening. Joe Biden and his writers and his team Lefty, they are threatening the information oligarchs that delivered Joe Biden to the Oval Office because they're not sucking up enough right now. Joe Biden.
Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation.
Right now.
Enabling the abuse of power.
Right now.
The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing.
Long ago.
Social media is giving up on fact-checking.
Oh, Zuckerberg.
The truth is smothered by lies, told for power and for profit.
And that's what that soundbite tells us right there, is that your lies, your misinformation, your disinformation are about your party securing power and getting rich off of it, the power and the profit. He's talking about it there. He's talking about himself. He's projecting. This is the Democrat Party's program. I've been watching this for some time now. And Joe Biden, I got to tell you, and then here he is ignoring his own son once again.
We must reform the tax code, not by giving the biggest tax cuts to billionaires, but by making them begin to pay their fair share. We need to get dark money. That's that hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions.
George Soros?
We need to get it out of our politics.
No, their dark money is good. It's the other guy's dark money that must be banned. It's the other guy's speech that must be banned. You have been using these dark money providers to the Democrat Party, these billionaire tech oligarchs, the information oligarchs. The Democrat Party has used them to great effect. They were in there in Silicon Valley early on, recognizing the power of the Internet, which Al Gore invented, of course. And they've been using and abusing these powers and these people and these oligarchs and their billions to secure power. And Joe Biden's big lie speech, this should be called the lie industrial complex speech. This speech is so full of falsehoods and deceptions and misinformation and disinformation and lies. Notice he doesn't name anybody. And he doesn't say that the Republicans are using these information oligarchs, these billionaires, because he knows It's all in Camp Democrats. All right, we still got a little bit more Joe Biden saying crazy stuff about Israel, and he's nuts about the weather. President Trump is going to take on graffiti in Washington, D.C., talk to our mayor about it. That's a good idea. The more graffiti, the more ghetto. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Tony calling from Ohio. Anthony, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, great show. Love to listen to you every morning, but I'm afraid the View has superseded you at 11 o'clock because it's so much more entertaining since the early November of last year. But anyway.
That's funny.
I have a couple of comments, but one of them, we're kind of rural where I live, and we have dairy farms, and you always have a bull, and he has a lifetime of service, but we put an ing on the end of that.
Of servicing. Sure.
Servicing.
Gotcha.
And the last thing I wanted to say was, as I sat and watched that speech with the classic opening that set the tone for the rest of it, I think Biden's warning of history repeating itself. So that's it.
That's it. Biden's warning is history repeating itself. He's telling us about the oligarchs and the danger of climate change, which he told us was an existential threat. And really, Democrats are the existential threat to California. The wildfires are more as a result of Democrat Party policies than anything else. And the military-industrial complex, well, Joe Biden is the embodiment of what Dwight Eisenhower warned us about. Let's keep that in mind. And they're going on and on in the confirmation hearings with our incoming Attorney General Pam Bondi, and another thing that everybody's a threat to democracy except them. The real threat to democracy. They used the legal industrial complex against their political enemies for years. And that's why they're haranguing the nominees. Are you going to go after Trump's political enemies? And then what they leave out is the way we went after our political enemies.